Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of Dark Souls 3. And one thing I really love, one little change that I think goes unnoticed, is that now you can emote, and move around. And I think this existed in Dark Souls 2, but I know that it didn't exist in Dark Souls 1. And this just goes to show that these little things get improved over time technologically. But okay, in this episode we intend to explore this place a little bit, see what's going on, and then of course kind of go around and see which enemies lie ahead. So one thing I would like to, I talked to this guy first, and what really struck me, he looks like the Crestfall, like the guy who's given up on life. And guess which emote he gives you? It's just too comical to be true. He gives you he gives you an emote collapse. Like, of course this guy would give you an emote collapse, and let me just show you how that looks like. I mean, it's exactly how you imagine it to look like. I didn't want to do that. Wait, I can do this. Check this out. It's exactly how I imagined it, and this is him. This is him embodied in an emote. I feel like it's too perfect. Like I mean, of course, it isn't a coincidence. He's supposed to be this desperate dude who doesn't know what he's doing here, and he's just kind of finding the path. But really, I just thought it was kind of humorous at the same time. So yeah, there are a lot of candles. I think that's pretty good. A lot of tombstones. The whole place and just the entire area that we were in smells of decay and just old age, and just was destroyed and kind of convoluted in time in some sense. And the branches are everywhere. It's overgrown. I feel like they're really trying to convey a sense of this is happening after Dark Souls 1, even though I'm not sure if it actually is. It might be actually happening prior to that, but like I said, I'm not sure what's going on. I just get that feeling that it feels even older than Dark Souls 1 did, and Dark Souls 1, of course, already felt pretty old because it was after the Age of Fire and things were dying, so it wasn't really a nice place to live. And just looking at it just gives me that impression that maybe something's not okay, and some candles are not lit. I wonder how they replace these candles. Do they like manufacture them themselves? Maybe. A lot of thrones up there. Imagine for the kings. Maybe they'll populate this area as actually beat them. Like I kill them and then they join. I don't know. That's probably a little bit far-fetched. This is the first merchant that we come across. I'm not sure what she sells. Probably some armors, things like that. And I think she has a shield, which is not that terrible. And I feel like I need a not terrible shield. This one, large leather shield, 85% physical reduction. It's not 100, and it probably won't be for quite some time. But I feel like I need it. And I also need like some chain helmet, chain armor, just some defense, because this way I'm not gonna survive for long. And she just said, Ashen One, please bring more souls. And I feel like she's addicted, which is okay. I'm not judging anyone, but you know, like, keep that addiction to yourself, I suppose. So I wonder how many souls we'll get from this. Oh, that's 2,000, so that might be enough to actually get something decent. Soul of an unknown traveler, 800, decent. And we got small ones. I think these ones give 50 a pop, so let's use all 5 of them. So that should be 250, if my math is correct. It is. And the first, I think, order of business is definitely the shield, because this one is terrible. Or maybe even a weapon. Now, I think the club is great. It was great in the previous, not episodes, but in the previous game, so I feel like it should be okay now. So large leather shield. I'm not sure what these icons next to the shields mean. Like, there's a sword icon here, and there's like a shield icon here. Maybe you can use this as a weapon. Maybe that seems like a logical conclusion, but of course, I'm not sure. And can we buy all of this? I don't think we can. Of course, leather gauntlets, I think this is the easiest. And if you just look at the durability and things like that, this is gonna look ugly as heck, but... Oh, I'm gonna have enough. Oh yeah, it's gonna be enough.
Be sure to bring more souls.
Okay, we get it, you're addicted. Why can't you go out and get them yourself, like I do? It's not that hard, I mean, I guess. But you can't die, so literally there's no reason not to do it. So if you go to equipment and try to equip it, okay, I'm a bit confused by the UI, but rest assured I will get used to it. So how will we look? Will we look like anything? We'll look fatter than I thought. You know what, let's just stick with it. I like the floppy animation of like the chainmail at the bottom, like at his butt. It just moves very fluidly, and it doesn't look good. Let me just be honest with you, but I feel like in a game like Dark Souls, looking good is not the #1 priority. And one thing I want to mention before we go on is this guy.
Well, I am Andre. I serve at this shrine.
It's Andre. Do you know Andre? Do you remember Andre? If you play Dark Souls 1, you probably do, because he's a really cool guy. And he's the blacksmith here. He basically improves their weapons. And if you haven't played the Dark Souls games before, essentially the best way to gain power or damage or things like that is by... I look so ugly. Is by improving your weapons and increasing them, and not necessarily through just leveling up with stats. One thing that's maybe the most interesting here is that when you enter the area, the only way to progress, or the way to progress, is to use this bonfire to teleport to the high wall of Lothric. So it's not like the areas are connected, but you have to teleport around to them, which I think is an interesting design choice, because it probably makes them let these areas a lot more varied and just a lot more disconnected from each other, which, you know, is probably intentional. But at the same time, I'm wondering to see how all of this will pan out as we go. So this seems like to be another coil here. Alright, alright. Oh, of course, I know what's coming. The dramatic door opening. I feel like this is the quintessential Dark Souls experience. That putting all your force and might into opening a door, it's dusty, like it hasn't been opened in 1,000 years, and you're the first one to do so. But you're probably not. And of course, another thing, box physics. That looks so damn ugly. I just noticed that it actually gets stained. I just thought it was gonna be our skin, but apparently even this gets stained and dirty, so that's not exciting. Can I wash it? This is a question I ask. Can you use Estus Flask liquid to wash it? Because, I mean, surely if you can ingest it, then it's probably a good idea to use it to wash things. Or is that just me? Okay, so the way to progress here, this is where pain lies. I'm gonna go once just to show you, but I expect to die. And we actually have to progress in the other direction, I think. I've come past this part, so I've come to the next bonfire, and that is where the blind playthrough stops. So I kind of know what happens up until that point, but not after that. And these doggies, man, again, this is an observation I've made in my previous recordings, but it's not something that you heard, because obviously it's not in this recording. But essentially, these doggies are... The knockback on these doggies is crazy. Like, it makes me feel like I'm a damn superhero. Just look at how far back they... Okay, this one didn't, because he was blocked by the wall. But they fly back so damn far. That was rude. But don't worry. We can take care of that. Oh, apparently I got just enough strength to be able to kind of one-shot them in just one stamina bar. And what's great is they don't seem to have a lot of poise, which makes sense because they don't have any chainmail. They just basically have a tattered cloth over them. So this guy has a little bit... Oh, that was a very sneaky dodge. Okay. Anything below here is nothing too spectacular, but there is a shortcut I think we can unlock. I'm just basing that on the fact... I know you're... Oh no, this is a dog that actually kind of threw off from the top part of the bridge. Nice to meet you. Alright, so this is probably where we open a shortcut. It just makes more sense because this side doesn't really serve any purpose. Even when you get to the end, there's just some, like, things on the ground. And that's okay, but it doesn't really give us anything of substance. So I feel like the only way for this area, or this part of the area to make sense, is for that to be a shortcut. But if you go up here, okay, there's a crossbow guy, and he's kind of distracting because the real star of this operation, or at least the real star of this group, is another guy. Do you see the guy in the back? He has no clothes. This is something I've been wondering. How do you recognize the special guys? Maybe it's because they are naked. Maybe being nude gives you powers, I'm not sure. Okay, but you'll see what happens. So let's kill this guy first. He stands up, right? And... pain and suffering. Essentially, that's what happens. Pain and suffering. I don't know how to put it, but I don't know how to deal with this thing. Like, it attacks way too fast, its attacks are way too unpredictable, and I have no idea how to deal with it in melee. Maybe there's a way to actually go about it. I know in the fight that we had with the boss, just so ridiculous. In the fight we had with the boss, you just stood behind it, but in this particular case, you can't really get behind it because it spawns on top of you and then it bounces you back and then you go from there. But yeah, like I said, that's where pain and misery lies, and let's not go that way again. And like I said, by far the scariest part of this game are those big guys, and I feel like unless I have ranged, I really don't have a good way of getting rid of them or dealing with them. So I guess won't try unless I absolutely have to. One thing you can also do before actually going there is just rushing them down before they transform and kill them. This is something I've figured out as well, but I don't think you get their drops. I think if you actually just manage to kill them outright, in that position you get something like a shard, which shouldn't be that big of a deal because you can probably buy them at some point, but it does come in handy early, I would imagine. Besides that, there's really nothing that you gain other than more souls, which again I don't think is that big of a deal. It's more of bragging rights if you actually manage to take them down, or if you have something like pyromancy that makes it much easier. Maybe another thing I didn't really notice or talk about, do I even get souls for killing these guys? I do, so that makes it worth it in my mind. Just commit the genocide to get more souls. Why not? So I was trying to say, you can see that if you look at the top left, we have health, we have magic, and we have stamina. And the magic is a new part, and essentially how it worked before is every time you reset the bonfire, you would have, let's say, 8 fireball charges, and you would be able to cast 8 of the fireball spell. And you know, you would just have 8 until you reset the bonfire again, and that worked well. That was a decent strategy, and I think that made a lot of sense. But with how they did it now, is you're not limited to charges anymore. Now you're limited to mana, and every time you cast a spell, you use up mana. And of course they have ways to regenerate mana via this Ashen Estus Flask, and of course resting at the bonfire, like regular health would, and just things like that. So I feel like this is a much better way, because it does allow you to be more, not combat, but more sorcery contrasted. And of course you can use a different variety of spells, and I feel like it just works a lot better this way. It just also makes more sense to me and just feels a little bit more dynamic and fluid. So we might experiment with magic a little bit, even though I haven't been that big of a fan of it in the previous episodes. But since this is a blind playthrough, I'm not setting any challenges for myself other than trying to survive for as long as possible. And this chainmail and just like this entire armor, I feel like is already really making a difference, and it just feels a lot more. I just feel a lot more secure in my health and just being able to deal with enemies. Let's kick you. Oh yeah, there we go. You didn't expect that. You didn't expect the kick from the chainmail master. I don't know why I called myself the chainmail master. That seems like a very lousy nickname. I think there's a dragon up here. He said so casually, so let's just burn all of them. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I love it. I just feel like it's so unfair, but also it's so fair. And again, this is kind of indicative of what the game is trying to teach you. Maybe there are too many enemies, like in this case. Maybe you need to find another way to actually get through them. And this is exactly what's gonna happen. Oh yeah, burn baby burn. He didn't kill all of them, but we can deal with the rest, I think. One heavy attack. Okay, he was kind of close and dangerous in that case, but where is he? Oh, he's still spouting fire. Well, I do appreciate it, man. Maybe he's a nice dragon. Maybe he's just trying to help. Or maybe he's just super... Iron Round Shield? Maybe it's better than what I need. Iron Round Shield? No, it's actually worse in every single imaginable aspect. Maybe if I bait him to do another fire attack at top. Oh, fire! Then I can just kind of run down. Oh god, just run, just run, just run. There was something on the ground, but I don't care, just run. Try to survive. That was easier than expected. So many people died here. How did this guy die? Red Phantom? Or are they just all red? I love this feature of the game. It just makes you feel better, because you're not the only one dying like a lunatic all of the freaking time. Oh, hello. You know, we might do a cheesy backstab. Can we do a cheesy backstab? Maybe we do a parry? There's parrying in the game. It feels so much better than Dark Souls 2 does. Oh, that was like a guard break. Oh, mate. Okay, let's... I should just go a bit more ham. That was not the definition of ham. We should go more ham, and then I start drinking the Estus Flask. Okay, so he does have some parry attacks. Or not parry attacks, but like guard break attacks, which deal a lot more damage if I'm actually holding a shield up. But again, I think the game is just trying to teach us to be more aggressive, because this is really the way to deal with enemies. Just go in there and start dealing damage. And I feel like this guy is here for precisely that reason, for the game to teach you that you should be a bit more aggressive. But this is kind of an uncharted territory for me, so maybe my commentary did drop a little bit. But I assure you, it's only because I'm terrified. So I think there's one more guy here. Yep. Oh god, he's not dead. I can't pick anything up. Okay, okay. Maybe we can open this. Oh, of course, nothing opens from this side. Is there a door in friggin' Dark Souls that opens from the right side? I feel like there isn't. Okay. Let's just... Oh, wow, that was a jump and a half. You don't seem like you have a lot of HP, and you don't. 2 hits, and you're gone. What I was kind of alluding to before is that chainmail and just having some armor on actually feels a lot better as opposed to not having anything, which is what I had or didn't have before in my first playthrough, of the first hour of the first playthrough, I guess is the best way to put it. And it just felt like everything was pummeling me. And of course, if you don't have any protection and you're playing a game which you're not used to, then everything is going to pummel you eventually. So I guess this is only natural. Front ahead, that is a very specific definition. If only I had aura. Oh, lucky for you, just found one. So I guess you're gonna get a good upload message, because I just wish him luck, I guess. So this is another bonfire, and this seems like a good place to end the episode. We can see the dragon right there, I think. There we go. Let's put him in the frame. You know, maybe make a thumbnail. No, probably not. But let's put him in the frame because he's really cool. I really like the design of just enemies and just everything in this game so far. And especially that dragon looks cool as heck. We can probably kill him, but I feel like because he did help us out, that probably won't be necessary. Unless he attacks us first, which we'll see if that actually happens. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.